at Golden Pride at abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewnetworks.com to buy your DVD today.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Good afternoon, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the world. Welcome to 2018 Red Menace TV. Leroy Lucero along with Michael Carlisle.
You couldn't just say good afternoon, everyone? That kind of encompassed all that?
Well, I meant to throw in the United States and then the world, but I kind of messed that up. So, hey, 2018 is finally upon us, the new year. 2017, as far as New Mexico and Lobo fans, maybe not so spectacular, especially Lobo fans.
If you're an Aggie fan, it wasn't bad.
I was going to say, if you're an Aggie fan, I guess it's okay. But now 2018 and beyond's going to suck as you go back to independent status, and basically you're done.
They've got hurdles.
Yeah,
sure.
they got more than hurdles. They got mountains to try to climb. But Lobos, I think we should start there, and really the disaster that is 2017 in Lobo land is we've had the Paul Krebs incident, we had Scotland Gate, we had Banderas and the new Mayor Keller who did their investigations. I don't think anything come of it, or we don't know yet. Bob Davie and the football team had a horrific year. We had Kneegate.
Investigations there as well.
I was just going to mention investigations there. Craig Neal, which was a positive, was fired, so that's a good thing. But Coach Paul Weir hasn't had a spectacular start yet. I think that was pretty much. I think most people thought that was going to be the situation, and I mean, even ending 2017, Holly Holmes and Carlos Condit go down at the last MMA or UFC battle.
Real quick on the Neal thing, and maybe it's a good thing he's not the coach anymore, but you're paying a guy $2 million to not coach. I don't know if that's a good thing or not for an athletic department that doesn't have a whole lot of money.
Good point, because another thing that came out in 2017, Nobody was paying for most of the skyboxes or what are they? Not Lobo level seating.
The suites.
Suites.
Yeah.
Lobo suites. Most of those weren't. Nobody was collecting on those. So, yeah, Neil wasn't only just losing money. UNM doesn't just use money paying Neil, but they also lost money because they didn't collect it.
Wasn't the best of years.
No, 2017 was kind of a bust when it comes for the UNM Lobos, though. The women's basketball team is still having a good year.
There's reasons for optimism for 2018. Yeah. You bring up the Lobo women's basketball team that's playing phenomenally. Most people feel like the men's basketball team is headed in the right direction with Paul Weir. And if you're a hardcore football fan, I think you probably feel like last year was an exception and things bounce back this year.
Yeah, I think. So obviously they let go of Coach DeBest,
the offensive
coordinator. He's gone. You have a couple of guys graduated, and I think they're going to change. I don't know how much they're going to change the offense. I don't see us going into an Air Davy type of offense. I guess we'll find out.
I don't think you can immediately. Now maybe you slowly tweak it over the next few years, but with the personnel you have, I don't think you can just make wholesale changes.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think even looking, at the past history, I mean, Davey and DeBest basically simplified the offense, went to that running offense because they knew they didn't have the weapons like Loxley did. But if you remember when Loxley took over, he tried to wholesale change the entire offense and defense, and we know the disaster that was. When Rocky first took over for Dennis Franchione, he tried to bring that West Coast offense in, and it was a disaster immediately. But Rocky geniusly said, no, we're going back. We're going to simplify. We're going to go back more towards an option type of running offense because that's what I have the ability to recruit, and that's what I have on the team. So I agree with you. I don't think you're going to see all of a sudden they're going to line 4 wide and drop into shotgun and just start peppering the ball all over the place. I don't think that's going to happen either. But what are your thoughts? 2017, not just Lobos, but I know you're a big MMA guy. You spent New Year's Eve in Las Vegas. Is that correct? How was that?
Correct. That was good.
It was a party there.
It was a party.
It was good?
It was a party.
It was a party? How was the MMA battle in that? I know you go to a lot of them.
I do, yeah. UFC 219 was really good. You mentioned at the top, not a good night for the Albuquerque fighters. Holly Holm goes the distance with Chris Cyborg, loses. And Carlos Condit in the opening fight on the pay-per-view portion of 219 goes the distance with Neil Magny, but does not come up with the victory. And with Carlos, and it's interesting, I heard after the fact that maybe he was a bit under the weather, but watching Carlos after the long layoff, I don't know how much of that was rust, how much maybe he wanted to come back but didn't want to come back. I don't know exactly what's going on there. Of course, he's got a lot of outside endeavors that occupy a lot of his time. I don't know how much he's into it anymore.
Well, I know in watching the fight and watching both fights, and I mentioned to Micah Frankel, who will be on the show here in a little bit, to discuss this. He didn't seem as he didn't seem that natural-born killer that Carlos Condit used to be, or that we're used to seeing. He seemed more like a natural-born, I'm just going to hang out for a little bit, which, whatever. I don't know. What can I say? I'm not a fighter. I don't know what it's like to be punched in the face repeatedly or kicked in the head or tried to be choked out.
Yeah,
so,
I'd imagine it's not pleasant.
Yeah, exactly. So, and, he's what? I think we said he's 33?
33, yeah.
What is that age-wise for a fighter?
That's not over the hill by any means.
Right. But you're a little bit smarter.
If he's
eaten a few punches.
He had had the long layoff. If he's serious about continuing to fight and wants to do that and fights more regularly, I don't see any reason why he couldn't regain that touch and get back into title contention. Like I said, I don't know that that's what he wants.
Yeah. Now Holly, on the other hand, very popular fighter, I think, still in the UFC. In fact, you could hear the chants for Holly.
She got the second biggest ovation at 219. The biggest was actually Mike Tyson in the crowd when they showed him on the Jumbotron. But yeah, no, certainly, not just obviously here, we know that, but everywhere. Yeah, she was hugely popular in Vegas on Saturday night at UFC 219. And look, here's what you got to remember with Holly. That loss does not hurt her at all. She went up in weight to fight arguably the greatest female MMA fighter of all time.
Right.
It went the distance. And honestly, despite what you may or may not have thought watching the fight, if she wins the last round, she wins the title.
Really?
Oh yeah. She needed to win the last round on 2 of the judges' scorecards.
See, now to me, watching the fight, and I was just sitting at home watching it, I thought she had lost the fight. Obviously a knockout would have been different, but
Sure.
I didn't think it was that close. And when I heard the scoring, and I'm not going to sit here and try to say that I know how to score,
Right.
but I just look at the action and the amount of punches that you eat, and looking at her face, which looked like mashed potatoes at the end of the fight. I thought it was scored a lot closer than it really was. Or I thought it was scored too close, to be honest with you. I thought Cyborg had pretty much dominated her. But I was kind of shocked that she didn't take her out. I had predicted that Cyborg would knock her out in the second round, and obviously that didn't happen.
Right.
It was a great fight, obviously the fight of the match, UFC named it that. I thought it was a spectacular, and it was awesome watching her because she fought hard, and I thought she took quite a few shots that...
She took a lot of shots. She also caught on one of Cyborg's kicks, she caught a toe in the eye.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
I think that would probably hurt a little bit more than maybe some of those punches. Of course, we'll get more of that from Michael Frankel.
Sure.
Like I said, you do go to a lot of MMA cards throughout the year there in Las Vegas. Usually you go with Trujillo. You didn't take Trujillo in tow this time, did you?
No, I did not.
Is there any match that stands out for you, or any card that stood out for you last year?
I enjoyed them all. I think probably what stood out the most was what could have been. And that was back in the summer. I believe that would have been 213, which was supposed to be headlined by Amanda Nunes and Valentina Shevchenko. That fight got pulled. Nunes had to pull out the day of the fight, but that was a fight at one point in time that they wanted McGregor on that card. Typically, the summertime card is their big card of the year, and there were a lot of possibilities there that just didn't quite transpire. And that's really kind of, and I know Micah will get a lot more into this, but that's really kind of the tale of UFC in 2017. McGregor fought Mayweather, but he didn't participate in a UFC pay-per-view. Rousey appears to be gone by all intents and purposes. You finally get John Jones back, fights once, and then gets in trouble again. So you basically went a year without people who you had depended on a long time to headline pay-per-views and generate revenue and put eyeballs on the product. So it was kind of a year of transition.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was interesting seeing, and I know the only reason I know even a tenth of the names that I do is because of Micah Frankel. And obviously, before the show starts, you guys are constantly talking about, and I'm like, what in the world are you guys talking about? Because I didn't know the names. In fact, I was shocked as they were showing some of the top 5, how few that I actually knew, or not that I was always a huge UFC guy or MMA guy, but you do get to know the names, obviously, since there's a lot of fighters that fight or train out of Albuquerque or the state of New Mexico. But it is going to be interesting to see obviously it's going to keep going because there's a lot of people that enjoy the MMA and especially UFC. That's going to keep going on.
And look, Dana White will tell you 2017 was UFC's most prosperous year financially. Now whether or not that's true, I don't know.
Well,
I'm not privy. No.
Okay.
I'm not privy to the to looking at the books.
They don't let you see that?
No, I know, right? Shocking, huh? But that they've got a new TV rights deal coming up soon. They're anticipating making big bucks off of that. They are building new stars. You saw one on Saturday night in Khabib Nurmagomedov. Tony Ferguson, who's the interim lightweight champion, one of them's going to fight McGregor at some point. It would appear. I mean, there are new stars out there. And plus, you've still got guys, like Demetrius Johnson, who might be the best fighter of all time. 12 straight title defenses now, Micah, whatever it is for Demetrius? I mean, you've got star power.
Yeah. And I think it's just a matter of getting that
transition. Yeah,
that transition, and then the transcending. Some of these guys transcend the sport a little bit, or their names you get so used to hearing over and over again. And I'm thinking like a George St. Pierre or John Bones Jones. You hear more of that. You don't have to be in MMA circles to hear those names. Ronda Rousey, I think, even a Holly Holm at this point. I think her name's more out there than just if you were hung out with MMA guys or octagon nerds or whatever you want to call them.
Well,
can you call them that?
I wouldn't, but I mean, I guess you could.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking like, people that maybe go to cageminds.com. You know how they call them gym rats? Octagon nerds or Call of Duty nerds or whatever. I don't know. The guys that buy the UFC 3 video game that's coming out very soon.
Mike is so going to put a toe in your eye, dude.
I'll tell you what, before we go on break, or actually before we bring Micah on for the next segment, real quick, this is going to be totally unprofessional. Hey, Micah, are you going to have end of the year awards or anything? I know that you did it on the website. Are you going to do it on today's show? Excellent. He gave me a thumbs up, so he's going to do that. So we got that to look forward to. Real quick, as far as local stories, is there anything that through the year you think about that was like the biggest story or?
I think that the UNM investigation has to be. Good or bad, right or wrong, witch hunt or not, whatever you think about it. I mean, it dominated so much of the sports headlines locally for such a huge chunk of the year. Despite what Paul Krebs would tell you, I think...
Despite what he told us.
Right. I think he would still be the AD right now if it were not for that investigation. And so that was, certainly brought quite a bit of headaches. That there are a lot more empty suites at Wise Pies Arena. That's not Wise Pies Arena anymore. Dreamstyle Arena. The one another change that happened at the end of the year, first of 2018 as well. But yeah, a lot more empty suites.
There's a lot more empty seats, not just suites.
Depends on the night.
Well, I think there's still a lot more. We still haven't had a sellout, have we?
Well, no, but you hadn't had one the last 2 years before this year either.
3 years, hasn't it?
I think this is year 3.
Yeah. So obviously no sellouts, a lot of empty suites. I don't know. Maybe now that they're actually charging for them, maybe nobody wants to pay for. I mean, you can fill up a free seat. I mean, you can give me a free seat anywhere. I mean, let me ask you: if you give a free ticket, you're pretty much going to go check it out, aren't you? At least once.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and if you can go catch a basketball game, maybe have a couple beers, and you don't have to pay for it. It's probably a good time, right?
Sweet deal. No pun intended.
I mean, you show up every Lobo basketball game, men's basketball game here in town because, well, you work.
Well, I'm working, yeah.
But you also have a free seat.
But I'm working.
So you you get paid to come and see the games.
Well, I'm working.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, I'd go for free seats, though I did pay to go see a game this year.
A whole game?
A whole game. BYU. That was a great. I thought that was.
It's an exhibition game.
It was still a game. It still counts.
Actually, no, it doesn't. That's the
I
whole,
have freebies.
That's the whole point of an exhibition game, Leroy. It doesn't count.
It does count. It counts as me having my butt in the seat.
Not really.
Or standing up, really. It was a lot of fun. Anyway,
all the more reason you should go to more.
Oh, I will. I got a free ticket. I mean, I guess I have a job, but press credential, I could go. Just sometimes I'm in school. I'm busy. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think
Rodney Dangerfield from Back to School.
That's it. Back to school. I can't do the triple Lundy though.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think what happened with Scotland Gate, which when it first came out, and I think we discussed this, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but it just kept blowing up, I guess.
And we don't need to go round and round on it again. The trip itself, not a big deal. The way they went about paying for it, huge deal. Yeah. Huge deal. If it had been paid for the right way, it was actually a smart move. A different way to try to generate revenue. Forge more bonds with the boosters and all, but you can't use public money to pay for stuff like that.
And I think we're finding that out now.
Yeah.
Though, as we get ready to transition over to Micah, I will say I still don't think there will be any charges or anything.
I don't think there'll be any criminal charges.
It's all over. I think once Krebs said, "That's it, I'm resigning or retiring." That's the official word.
Right. He retired.
Yeah. Once he retired, I think that pretty much put an end to everything else. I mean, they might come up with
you had 2 investigations come up after that.
Yeah, but I mean, nothing's really come about either investigation. Nothing serious, other than hey.
Depends on what you consider serious.
Well, we already knew what they were investigating. It's not like all of a sudden they uncovered new junk. Anyway, let's take a quick break because Big A, that's his name now, Alden, is giving us the break signal. We'll come back with Micah Frankel of Cage Minds right here on Red Menace TV.
Play behind. Oh, look at this. All the way running on the reverse.
Steele has a OB chance.
By 6 turnovers as Oyeku finishes and a chance at a three-point play.
Strasner being hounded by Penn. Strasner, that's got to be, let's see, block. Crane puts the moves on. A long one for B-Hill. Flash! How about that end of the quarter? Andres B-Hill's third three-pointer of the game.
Oh my God.
Gonna count at the half. Minute 30 to play. Here comes the double team. They had a cutting pike underneath. Amaya goes all the way with a rack attack.
He's got a step. Anthony Chavez all the way. Finishes.
When I train for American Ninja Warrior, I schedule regular workouts to stay in shape.
To keep my car in Ninja Tough shape, I head to a Napa Auto Care Center for regular maintenance and genuine Napa Auto parts.
Like brakes and batteries.
I trust my Napa Auto Care Center for quality parts and quality service.
And with the 24-month, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty, I drive away with peace of mind every time.
Visit AutoCareNM.com to find a location near you.
Christy May's restaurant is locally owned and operated with a family-friendly atmosphere. Their array of homemade comfort food is just like your mom's. From homemade chicken pot pie to their famous chicken salad on a croissant, Christy May's even offers lunch catering. Christy May's restaurant is located at 1400 San Pedro Drive, Northeast. They offer drive-in, carry-out, and catering. Open Monday through Saturday, 10:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with Proview Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico high school athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
Ah!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
For 55 years, people have bought trucks from Tillery in Los Lunas. We have a great selection of vehicles, the quality service department, and some of the best deals in the state. But most importantly, we found people prefer to buy trucks from people who actually drive trucks.
Tillery is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Locally owned and operated, located in Las Lunas, right off I-25, exit 203. Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today. Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill.
Locally loved restaurants like Farina Pizzeria, Farina Alto, and the Artichoke Cafe are the perfect venue for your next event. Farina Alto has traditional Italian food plus handcrafted cocktails in a beautiful Northeast Heights location. Farina Pizzeria with a downtown vibe, amazing affordable wines, and local beer. And the Artichoke Cafe has set the standard for casual fine dining since 1989. Visit our family of restaurants and see what fine dining is all about.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Happy New Year. Welcome back into the place where we talk about people getting punched in the face. This is Caged Minds. I'm Micah Frankel. Go to cagedminds.com. Check out everything that I do and report on. Get started this week, obviously, with talking about there was a little event this past weekend to close out 2017. UFC 219. You had Carlos Condit, as was mentioned, opening up the pay-per-view main card, and not a successful return. Not the Carlos Condit we expected, not able to keep distance, allowing himself to be put into the clinch, Magny's strongest position, and then Magny, not such a strong wrestler, was able to drag Condit to the ground when he wanted, taking a decision and scoring the biggest win of his career, ending what was a 3-fight losing streak. Magny's back was against the wall. This is a huge win. In the main event, Holly Holm did good things and bad things in almost defeating Cyborg. Now, almost is because of the two judges that gave her the first 2 rounds. I have to say, scoring at home, I agree with the other judge, 49-46. Thought it was a pretty dominant performance from Cyborg. Early on, Holly was landing her right hand, was able in the first and second round to bust open the nose and bloody it a little bit of Cyborg. But after that, Cyborg seemed to be able to really catch on to what Holly was doing in the last 3 rounds. You got to commend Cyborg for her ability to maintain her power for 5 rounds, which no one believed she was going to be able to do. Also to maintain her cardio for 5 rounds, where Holly in the clinch was holding Cyborg, using a lot of muscle, using explosive movement to get away from Cyborg, and then Cyborg would methodically, again, cut off the cage and corner Holly, not using a lot of energy. So it's a very strategic game plan. You have to commend Jason Perillo, who's Cyborg's head coach, for the work that he's put in over the last couple of years of turning a brawler into this killing machine that we've seen in front of us, just destroying the last couple of girls that she's put in. Holly got beat up in that fight. We saw the visual damage. We saw how much damage she took around her eye. It was a big win for Cyborg, and I think it puts Cyborg as the greatest WMMA fighter of all time. Now, it's a different conversation from who's the greatest female fighter of all time. You put her in there with Holly, because Holly's probably the greatest female boxer of all time, the most acclaimed at least. So it was an interesting night of combat sports and a big win for Cyborg that did get marred later by controversy because a Jackson Wink photographer made some tasteless comments about Cyborg later. You can go hear more about that situation on the podcast at cageminds.com. Cage Minds Uncensored. Sal Mora joined me this week, but I can update you that the photographer has had his UFC credentials pulled and will no longer ever cover a UFC event again, justly so. But we had some awards to talk about now from 2017. So we're going to start off with our first slide. It's a picture of Gene Perez. We have the full awards at cageminds.com because we're going to skip a couple here. But Gene Perez gets an award for having the biggest huevos in all of New Mexico, fighting anybody, anytime, 4 fights in the ring and 2 fights in the cage this year. When a promoter needs somebody on the last minute, you usually call Gene Perez, and he says yes, and I feel that having that kind of courage deserves an award. Now we're going to go on and talk about some more boxing-related awards. Here is the upset of the year. He was our guest before the fight. Jose Osorio defeated Raymondo Reynoso up at Buffalo Thunder. Countries collide, a split decision, which was a great performance for the underdog, who came in as a huge betting underdog. Osorio taking the upset of the year. Now, Event of the Year was heavily covered here on ProView Networks. You can still go check out that event on the YouTube channel. Battle for the Brave, a full night of action that had even some other awards that we'll talk about. A great main event. You had the stellar performances by Brian Mendoza and Matthew Diamond Boy Griego in a year that honestly we didn't have as many boxing events as in past years. Battle for the Brave stuck out as our 2017 event of the year, which also on that event did feature Matthew Esquivel versus Christopher Russell, which takes home a plethora of awards. Early on in the fight, Russell scores a knockdown. Esquivel has to gather himself, wipe the dust off from hitting the mat, and he does so coming back with this big left hook. So it's comeback of the year for our New Mexico boxing scene. It is knockout of the year for the New Mexico boxing scene. With the ebbs and flows and knockdowns on both sides, it's actually our New Mexico boxing scene Cage Minds 2017 fight of the year. Now, our New Mexico Boxer of the Year is, once again, Jose Asario. A lot of guys went undefeated in 2017, but not many guys pulled off upsets. Not many guys beat foes that they weren't expected to. Jose Asario overachieved, and that gives him the acclaim and the fact that he's earned this award as our 2017 Boxer of the Year. Fight of the Year took place at King of the Cage Chosen Few back in July at the Santa Ana Star Center. It was a split decision. It was an all-out war between Nico Nathan from Clovis's Fourths of One and Sterling Peak from Pettis Fighting System in Berlin. A back-and-forth war that gets our amateur MMA Fight of the Year. The amateur knockout of the year took place at Jackson Wink Fight Night 2, and it was courtesy of a right uppercut from Ozzy Chavez that floored Daniel Nieto. Our amateur of the year and also winner of the amateur submission of the year goes to Clovis's Chris Cortez. Chris went 5-0 in 2017, wins in King of the Cage in Clovis for the Force of One promotion and at the Jackson's MMA series. Christopher wins the 2017 Amateur Submission of the Year with his modified Americana submission of Brian Linares at Jackson's MMA Series 21. Our MMA Professional Fight of the Year was the main event of Jackson's MMA Series 23, and that goes to Ernesto Savidre versus Roy Sacido, a back-and-forth fight that saw the biggest moments coming when Sacido was able to land his spinning back fists out of nowhere. Savidres wore the damage well, got takedowns, found himself in some good positions on the back, hunting for chokes, but Sacido was able to fight through a great 3-round war at Buffalo Thunder that wins our Professional MMA Fight of the Year for 2017. The event of the year came at Isleta Resort and Casino. It was Jackson Wink Fight Night 2. It was a stacked card. It was hard not to give a card that had 6 professional fights, not to mention 11 fights in all that saw 9 finishes. From Damasio Page to the bloody war between Cody East, Tony Kryptonite Lopez, the professional debut of Chris Brown, a couple other awards that we're going to talk about. That amateur knockout of the year, Jackson Wink Fight Night 2 delivered as a card and was our 2017 New Mexico MMA card of the year. Now, for Breakthrough Fighter, New Mexico MMA Breakthrough Fighter of the Year, that's Andreas the Bullet Quintana from Latrell Yee MMA and Fitness. Andreas has now rose above finally fighting here locally and is fighting for Combate America, a prominent promotion that is giving a great deal of money and is starting to build into itself. It's not one of those top 3 promotions, so that's where Andreas has broke through to the next level, and he went 3-0 this year in Combates, 2 decision victories and a submission. His submission victory of Ray Trujillo earned the Combate America's 2017 Submission of the Year. Now, a host of awards, locally, nationally, all go to Nico Montano. Our New Mexico Female MMA Fighter of the Year is Nico Montano. Our UFC Breakthrough Fighter of the Year is Nico Montano. Our full list of awards, again, are at cageminds.com. Nico becomes the first ever UFC Women's Flyweight Champion. She went 3-0 on The Ultimate Fighter, beating a tough Ariel Beck, and en route to getting the title, beat the top 3 seeded people in the tournament, Barb Honchak, Roxanne Modafferi, and Lauren Murphy. Nico Montano breaking down barriers, becoming the first ever UFC Women's Flyweight title. We got several awards, including New Mexico Big League Fighter of the Year. That's talking about all the New Mexico fighters that make it to that next level. We're talking about the Pro Fighters League, Ryzen, Bellator, UFC. So for MMA fighters, Nico Montano had the best year of all of them. Our New Mexico local scene Mal Fighter of the Year goes to Harvey Park. Harvey is ready for that next level. He's went 3-0. He's continually been headlining cards here on the local scene. The Clovis Force of One product should be going to one of those big promotions soon. He recently signed with Ricky Constanetti, manager of guys such like John Dotson and Landon Venata. Look for big things coming from Harvey Park. Fight of the Year, now when we look at overall the big MMA scene, UFC 218 had 2 of the best fights of the year, and I honestly couldn't choose between them. So this year for big MMA, our Fight of the Year, we have a split. It goes to, the top photo there is Alex Oliveira versus Yancy Medeiros. And later on the night, on the pay-per-view card, you saw the bloody war between Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje. Both fights were back and forth, bloody brawls, big punches, and wars of just will down to the moment they were finished. Those 2 fights share Fight of the Year this year. Submission of the Year, unfortunately it comes against a New Mexico fighter, but it's not many times that you see somebody throw a guy up in the air, grab their arm, and then use that arm to submit them with an arm bar. It's something you kind of do when you're playing around in your living room with your nephews. Demetrius Johnson threw up Ray Borg, grabbed the arm bar in something that I don't believe we'll see again. That's our submission of the year for 2017. Now, knockout of the year, there's so many great knockouts, I had to divide it into categories. So first off, our flying knee knockout of the year comes courtesy of Bellator, and it's Paul Daly just stunning Brendan Ward in Connecticut. That left knee, complete knockout. Paul Daly, flying knee knockout of the year. Now there's also the elbows, and this one was just ridiculous. The spinning back elbow by Gaston Bolanos on the prelims of Bellator 180 scores our elbow knockout of the year, just barely beating out the devastation that Mike Perry did in knocking out Jake Ellenberger with his right elbow. Kick of the year goes to Bellator once again. Rafael Carvalho putting his left shin across the jaw of Melvin Manhoef. It doesn't hurt that this also comes in a middleweight world title fight. That gives it that little edge, I thought, making it a better knockout than what OSP was able to do against Corey Anderson. Some great knockouts this year. And the punch of the year is next. Francis Ngannou launching Alistair Overeem farther than a rocket can go. Our knockout punch of the year came at UFC 218. And UFC 218 featured knockout punch of the year, the 2 fights of the year. How could it not be event of the year? Just barely edging out, in my opinion, the 3 title fight card that was UFC 217. Upset of the year. Who saw this one coming? There's a new strawweight champion in the UFC, Rose Namajunas, dethroning Joanna Jędrzejczyk. That is the upset of the year in MMA. WMMA, I said it, she's the greatest of all time right now with her win over Holly Holm, and also that makes her fighter of the year for the UFC's women division, Chris Cyborg. Fighter of the Year, again on a couple of these awards, I was split. It was the beginning of the blessed era. Max Holloway dethroned Jose Aldo and then defended the title against Aldo, solidifying that the featherweight division is his division. But almost equally as amazing, Rafael dos Anjos, the former lightweight champion, moved up 15 pounds to 170 pounds, beat the former Strikeforce champion Tarek Saffiedine, continued to roll, destroying Neil Magny, which we all see how good Neil Magny is. He just beat Carlos Condit, so that win even makes what Dos Anjos did against Magny look that much more impressive, and then just dominating Robbie Lawler in a way that we haven't seen. I got to split the Fighter of the Year award between Max Holloway and Rafael Dos Anjos. 2017 was a big year. Got to look forward already to 2018. I can tell you that on the local scene, we're getting started. January 27th, Buffalo Thunder Resort Casino. Holmes Boxing does have an event lined up. For the UFC, you have January 14th, where you have UFC Fight Night on FS1 with Doho Choi versus Jeremy Stevens, and the UFC is back on pay-per-view, going against Bellator on the same night, a big night, January 20th, where you have Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou, the UFC heavyweight title, and Volkan Ozdemir, Daniel Cormier, the light heavyweight title, both on the line. The UFC going against Bellator, where Bellator is bringing Rory McDonald versus Douglas Lima and Chael Sonnen versus Rampage on the same night. So looking forward to a big year in 2018 of combat sports again, and more Red Menace in just a moment.
Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449.
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan-favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but 2 great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill.
Turbo Threads is a proud sponsor of Proview Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sports shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. Turbo Threads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for Turbo Threads.
Garden Sports Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between. Garden Schwartz Team Sales. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
I don't
What
know.
is it, dude?
How do you do fight of the year, fighter of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and then you split it up into like 5 different guys? Why not just say, I pick every fight to be the fight of the year, and I pick every fighter to be fighter of the year, and every knockout to be knockout of the year? I'm just saying.
Wow.
Just busting. Hey,
You're coming out hard on Micah.
I've got to give Micah a little hard time. I haven't seen him for a while. No, I'm kidding. Micah does a great job.
Look, just because the guy gave every fighter participation ribbons, I mean, come on.
No, I listen.
Micah's giving us the look of death right now.
I listen to Micah every week on the award-winning Sports Bar, and he does a great job there, and obviously he does a great job here. In fact, I was talking to a good friend of mine, Andy Rivera, about Micah the other day, and I told him, I go, one of the greatest things for this show was meeting Micah and seeing what he does and the work that he puts in. And if you've ever been to his website, or if you haven't been to his website, you're really missing out, because when it comes to MMA, I don't think there's anyone that's better. I mean, I know you followed this a lot more. Alden's coming out with this steel chair.
Wow.
Hey, settle down there, Slick. Speaking of the steel chair.
Well, now.
Speaking of the steel chair, DWO will be back starting in February.
In February, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and there will be new venues, and of course, when that comes, we'll go ahead and talk about that. One thing that did come out that I think is kind of cool is Brian Urlacher was named to the college or the NCAA Hall of Fame. And
the College Football Hall of Fame. He was also this week named a finalist to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
And I think he'll get there.
I don't know that he gets there this year. There's no doubt he gets there, though.
Is there other huge names that are?
Well, there are always a lot of huge names. This is his first year as a finalist. Typically, guys don't get in their first time. I don't doubt for a second he's a Hall of Famer, and I don't doubt that he'll get in. I'm just not sure he gets in this time.
I'm going to predict that he gets in. I mean, his name was pretty big in Chicago when they were very good at the time. Well, I guess they did have a little bit, but his name was pretty big, and they always pronounced it Urlacher. Do you ever remember that? Brian Urlacher. I don't know if it's Urlacher or Urlacher, but I'm just saying. I think he'll get in. Speaking of NFL playoffs are finally wrapped up, and shocking, the Dallas Cowboys.
Who does Dallas play this weekend?
Dallas
That's right. They don't.
They'll be on Xbox this weekend. And speaking of, I do want to mention this, and I think in the Twitter sphere, I was talking with someone, and I hope that, and I know they won't, but I mean, gosh, can you imagine? I don't even know if he cares. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott's, what he did during the off season, basically
beating his girlfriend.
This season. Well,
allegedly.
Allegedly, but I mean, there was that. Then there was the ripping the girl's top off, and then there was his boys or whatever that were smacking people around in the clubs. And I just don't understand how you put yourself in that kind of situation and basically cost your entire team a playoff bid.
So that's where you're going.
I'm just saying.
Zeke Elliott single-handedly
I'm
cost
just
the
saying.
Cowboys.
If the whole team offense is geared around you, and you can't even be smart enough not to get into trouble, that's kind of like a rough go. I mean, hopefully you grow up a little bit and you don't see those kinds of things this year. You hope.
They actually played pretty well when he was out.
Let's look at the competition that they played. They basically beat the Giants and the Redskins, which pretty much everybody beat the Giants and Redskins. I mean, even when they played each other, I don't think there was a winner in either game. They both beat each other.
Well, not exactly. But look, you have to play who's in front of you. There are bigger issues with the Cowboys. What was the Zeke Elliott thing, and it's something that really lingered through most of the season because he was fighting the suspension before finally taking it. Did that play a role? Of course it did.
Yeah, it did.
They have bigger issues. The offensive line wasn't nearly as good as advertised. There's still holes on the defense. Ask any Cowboy fan, most bland, predictable offense in the history of offenses. There's certainly bigger issues that Jerry Jones and company are going to have.
It's funny because the Oakland Raiders and the Dallas Cowboys, every game you watched on TV, they talked about the greatness of the offensive line. And if you look at both teams, both offensive lines were garbage all season long, to be honest with you.
Is that French?
Yeah, that's
garbage.
That's French since playoffs starting. Your picks on Super Bowl, what do you got? You know who's in the AFC. You know who's going to win it all. I mean, is there even a question? Why even play it?
Well,
why even bother?
Because you never know.
Okay.
I do think New England out of the AFC. The NFC is a little more wide open, especially with the Carson Wentz injury. All of a sudden, Philadelphia looks very ordinary. I still think there's a lot of talent on that team. I think they could still come out of the NFC. But honestly, the team that's playing the best right now is probably Minnesota.
Yeah, I think Minnesota, I mean, you're still Keenum's their
Case Keenum, yeah.
Case Keenum's still their quarterback, and they're like, okay. But he's got something going with that team right now that they're able to win.
The NFC is a lot different than the AFC, though. Really, I think there are two legit teams in the AFC. That would be New England and Pittsburgh. The NFC, would it be shocking if one of the wild cards, if, the Saints or
the Rams,
the Rams, heck, even the Panthers, a team that's
hold on, because Mike is leaving. So I want to announce our awards for the #1 host on Red Menace TV 2017. I'm going to name Michael Carlisle, Leroy Lucero, and Micah Frankel. We all win. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, now Mike has gone back and got the chair again.
Here comes the chair again.
I like the way you took the slow, deliberate path around. Yeah, to make you think about it.
Sorry, I had to bust that out. But no, I mean, I'm just looking at it. Well, you're not a host, Alden. I can name you producer of the year, director of the year. Okay.
Wow.
Wow. So that's not very shocking, to be honest with you.
That actually happens more than most of you know.
No, but I mean, NFC is wide open. I wouldn't be shocked to see the Rams. They've got a great running back in Gurley. I think their quarterback's really good. One team that I know will not be there in the NFC, because I think they'll lose their first game, that's the Eagles.
We'll see.
I think
and that's a funny thing, and that gets back to what I was talking about with them without Carson Wentz. I wouldn't be shocked if they lost their first game. I wouldn't be shocked if they still found a way to go through the NFC. It's still a really talented team. It's certainly a different team. The offense isn't nearly as explosive without Wentz and with Nick Foles in there. But I do think they have enough weapons. They could still get it done.
They could, but I don't think they will. That's just my prediction. I'm thinking, obviously, the Patriots are going to roll. I mean, I don't even know. I don't see anyone even competing.
Are you a closet Patriots fan? Is that what?
So I will be honest with you. I've liked the Patriots for a few years now. I think Tom Brady's just amazing to watch, because I don't know how that guy does it. I mean, they stick him with all these scrub players. I mean, Gronk's pretty good, but I mean, the majority of his career is like, okay, here's a nobody that I'm going to turn into a superstar this year, and you're just like, who is this guy? You know what I mean? It's just like the one year they have the Hall of Fame wide receiver is the year they go 18-0, but they lose the Super Bowl. But I mean, honestly, I don't know how that guy does. So I enjoy watching him, because there's something weird about that team. Like even last year's Super Bowl, they should have lost that. Was it last year?
Yeah. Well, last year
and against Seattle,
lead,
they should have lost that.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
And then even the first time they won a Super Bowl with the kick, they should have lost that. I mean, every Super Bowl they should have lost, but they find a way to will themselves to win, and I attribute that to Tom Brady. So I enjoy watching him play.
Well, if you think they should have lost every Super Bowl, do you think they're that good?
Yeah, but they find a way to win. That's what I'm saying.
I gotcha.
I think he's the greatest of all time, and I think
I do too.
He's kind of like, I mean, you would say like a Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. If you're a soccer fan, world soccer fan, Leo Messi. If you're a hockey fan, I guess Wayne Gretzky you would throw in there. I think he's that caliber of player, and everybody hates him. So I just, being a Cowboy fan, who most people hate Cowboys, everyone hates Tom Brady. So
I got to stop you right there.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
So you managed to work soccer into that, but yet you take swipes at baseball at every opportunity. Because why don't you like baseball?
It's boring.
But yet you like soccer?
Oh, soccer is constantly
which is the most boring sport in the history of sports?
It's not, because everyone's constantly in motion. There's not a lot of sitting around or scratching
People
yourself
are constantly in motion in marathons as well. When's the last time you sat down and watched one of those?
I don't watch that either. So I feel you. I understand. But if you notice, I was trying to say like the greatest of all time in their sport. Guys that transcend, guys, I didn't say gals because I don't really watch women's sports, but guys that transcend their sports. So we only have a couple minutes left. Do you have any like predictions 2018 for like Lobo sports or anything local?
Look, obviously Lobo women's basketball is having a great season. That program is certainly on the upswing. So I expect that to continue. I think Lobo football bounces back. I think the last 2 or 3 years are much more indicative of where this program is headed as opposed to what last year was. I think last year was a bump in the road. I think football gets back on track. And watching men's basketball, you see what Paul Weir's done with that team. I don't know how many games they're going to win this year, but I think they're going to be fun to watch the rest of the way. And I think that program is headed back in the right direction.
So
as well.
I'll ask you this. The last few games, which have been close and they've won a few, are you starting to see the chemistry starting to grow with this team? I mean, at first there was like such a huge turnover.
Well,
their chemistry
sure.
wasn't quite there. Then you had the Sam Logwood situation, which we still don't know what all went down there. But I'm starting to see where like the guards are now hitting the wings, and all of a sudden there's a flow to the offense, and you're starting to see the chemistry build with this program.
The chemistry is a big part of it. Plus, keep in mind, all those guys are learning a completely different system. Right. Whether it's the guys who were here before or the new guys, you're all learning a different system. It's a very physical system. It requires a lot of effort and energy, and that's not something you just pick up and roll with.
You mean you don't just do that and it just works? It's not like Xbox where you hit the X and the circle and all that. It's like, wow, it worked. Now, I agree with you. I think the basketball team's going to be very good next year. They're going to be okay this year. Like you said, I don't know how many games they're going to win. They're fun to watch because their defense is just, they're crazy. I mean, it's frenetic and it's exciting. Football, we'll see. Let's see what kind of offense that they come up with. I think there's some talent there on the, as far as running back. I think the wide receiver talent is there. The quarterback, we'll see. I know they signed a good JUCO player this year. I think it comes down to that offensive line once again.
Yeah, I agree.
It's funny we're talking about it in the NFL, but if we really look at the Lobos offense this year, I think the offensive line was probably the biggest letdown of the whole, fumbling all the time. That was a crusher too, but I didn't think the offensive line was explosive as they were in years past.
Which is interesting because you had, 2, 3 guys on the offensive line that were all Mountain West honorable mentions?
Right, but I'm just saying, did you feel that they were explosive at any time?
No, not at all.
I mean, I'm used to these guys blowing open holes. Now, granted, we didn't have the type of running backs that had the explosion.
That may have been a part of it as well. You have a lot of talent, and you mentioned that a second ago at the running back position. I don't know that they had that explosive back with the breakaway speed that they've had in the past.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a great year. I want to thank Alden for all that he does. He's here every week, and so let's throw Big A his props. And then obviously Michael Carlisle, it's been a blast co-hosting this show with you all year long. I've totally enjoyed it. Missed you when you were out in Las Vegas, but it's still been a blast. We want to thank you all for watching. All the guests will be here 2018 having a great time. So until next week, we'll say God bless you all.